back. Hello, everybody. It is I, Granite. Back with some more Assassin's Creed 3 Remastered. Loot. So we have a fast travel over here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. No. I went to fast travel. Thank you. Long time no see. Hey, yeah. All right. We are still, in my mind, technically still in the prologue. We're still in the intro. We're still in the prologue, even though we're in what, memory sequence 5. So let's. Why are we walking?
Get out of the way!
Oh.
After him!
This game does take a while to get going. I agree. I don't remember Achilles ever walking by like that, or running by like that, but whatevs. And just to double check, our database isn't like reset. Okay, why? Thank you. Not what I wanted. Okay. We're not back to having 100 recent entries again. Just assassinate that guy. He's just sitting there, working on a cart. Are you doing 100% on the main missions for this game, or 100%? We're gonna do all the side quest stuff too. We're gonna do all the hunting missions, all the side stuff, the homestead things. We're doing everything.
Hello.
Hello.
You must be one of them native fellas from the, what's it called? Iroquois tribe. Aye. You from that?
Course not, Terry. Iroquois ain't a tribe.
Is so.
Is not. The Iroquois is a confederation.
Confederate what now?
Confederation, ya Tony. It's a group, an alliance. Lots of different kinds of people all united.
We're gonna let them just argue. All right, we made it. So for some reason, Twitch has been like saying I've been copywriting stuff because some of these movie scenes, like script,
What?
and like other people have, I guess, walked through it, and it's like, oh, this is copyrighted material, which it's not.
No.
Bunch of baloney. But it's not been like DMCAing me or like, you know, not
wait. I'm not
docking my
leaving.
account, but it's like, hey, we muted some stuff because it was copyrighted. Blah. That's what I think about that. Okay. Achilles Davenport. These cutscenes they say are copyrighted. Yeah, according to Twitch's algorithm. You may not think to look at him now, but this man was once a mentor of a powerful branch of assassins, the Colonial Brotherhood. Achilles' life before he was an assassin isn't well documented. It seems that most of the records were destroyed when the Templars were nearly wiped out the order in 1763. From what I do have, Achilles was recruited in the mid-1730s, became a mentor in 1746. He had a gift for both recruitment and organization. So before long, he was head of a crew of assassins that spanned the colonies and much of the frontier. Achilles strengthened the ties between the Order and the nations of the Iroquois Confederacy, particularly the Kanakahaka, though as far as our record show, Connor is the first Native American to actually become an assassin. Take shelter in the stables.
I need a place to camp. This should do.
All right. We have some guys coming up, don't we? Or is that like in a day or two? We'll see. We'll just watch. We'll see what happens. It's raining. Seems like he's having difficulty sleeping. Convince the man to speak with you. All right, back to the marker we go.
There must be another way in.
All right, try the back door.
Please, all I ask is a moment of your time.
I apologize if I've been unclear or otherwise confused you with my words. It was never my intention to mislead, so let me try to clarify. Get the hell off my land.
That was pretty brunt. It was pretty easy to understand.
Coming up!
Try the balcony.
Just hear me out. What are you so afraid of?
Afraid? You think I'm afraid of anything? Least of all a self-important little scab like you? Or you might dream of being a hero, of riding to rescues, of saving the world. But stay this course, and the only thing you're gonna be is dead. The world's moved on, boy. Best you do too.
Best you do too, Connor.
I will not leave. Do you hear me? I'm never leaving. Just wait, old man.
Take shelter in the stables yet again.
I will not be defeated so easily.
It's snoozy time.
These are square toes. This'll be easy.
That's what you said last time, and I wound up with a dead horse and a dark eye.
Who are you?
No one you need concern yourself with, little britches.
Knock on door,
Best
go to
cut
stable.
first
Knock on door, go to
before bad
stables.
happens.
No.
Can't say we didn't warn ya.
Stop that with the sword.
Brothers! Songs and spirits, you know.
That was cool. Oh, he got me because it was off screen. No fair.
Why are you here? What do you want?
Best ask the boss man.
You working for the old man, then? That it? Maybe this'll get you talking. Oh.
Oh. What a sound to die on. Oh.
Thank you.
Clean this up. Then I suppose we should talk.
Meet Achilles in the manor. I feel like this episode is just going to be a lot of cutscenes. So look with that. How about we break his chair? Good at first impression.
Sorry.
Not your fault. This whole place is ready to come down. Goddamn miracle it hasn't already. Anyway, who are you?
Anyways, who are you?
Right. Well, I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. Now, tell me why you're here.
I was told to seek this symbol.
Do you even know what that symbol represents? Or what it is you're asking for?
No.
And yet, here you are.
The spirit said that I am...
These spirits of yours have been harassing the assassins for centuries. Ever since Ezio uncorked the bottle. But you don't even know what an assassin is, do you? Well, they're settled in then. I've got a story to tell, and it's gonna take a while to get it all out.
Yeah, 4 games.
And so, this is why the assassins have dedicated themselves to the pursuit of the Templars. Because if they
Yeah, get that
succeed,
popcorn.
your spirit's visions will become reality.
Then I will stop them.
Oh, I have no doubt you'll try. Come on. I've something to show you.
Oh, I've got a new email.
Careful. Wasn't a joke when I said this place was coming apart.
Why don't you repair it?
What's the point? Besides, I don't have materials for the job.
So buy them.
Sound like my child.
Look at me. You think I can just march into some store, purse full of pounds, and go shopping?
Yes. Why not?
I'm so naive. This way. Don't think you can just come in here, throw those on, and call yourself an assassin.
I did not. I would never presume...
That's all right. I know they've a certain allure. Very well. I'll train you. Then we'll know if you've the right to wear those robes.
Thank you.
Name's Achilles. Come on, then. We've work to do.
There they are.
You are a speck of dust, a nothing. You
Look how
and all
pixelated
your
it is.
kind, living in the dirt like animals, oblivious to the true ways of the world.
What do the Templars want?
What they've always wanted. Control. They see an opportunity in the colonies. A chance for new beginnings, unfettered by the chaos of the past. This is why they back the British. Here they have a chance to illustrate the merits of their beliefs. A people in service to the principles of order and structure.
I have seen what is to come if they succeed. They have to die, don't they? All of them. Even my father.
Especially your father. He's the one holding the whole thing together.
Woohoo! First one done.
So I trained. In running, in climbing, in fighting, in falling. And for every lesson that concerned the body, there were two that concerned the mind. Language, philosophy, logic.
Alright, so we have a bunch of outfits here because of, we just have a bunch of outfits. And some of them are locked from the club. And so...
The arts. Achilles taught most often of the assassins and Templars. Their structures, origins, and purpose. Centuries of history condensed into a few short days. I told him of the men who had burned my village, of Charles Lee, and my promise to him. Achilles explained that Lee and his followers were Templars, and that they were led by none other than my own father. If I was to serve the order, these men would become my targets. So I worked harder, learned faster, but for all my progress, it was clear that I still had much to learn. My training had only just begun.
Alright, and we got a new Animus database entry here, an update for Charles Lee. Frustrated with his lack of advancement with the British, Lee moved back to New York in 1773. He quickly became a supporter of the revolutionary cause, and in June of 1775, he joined the Continental Army with the rank of Major General. Lee began his service under the command of George Washington, which graded since Lee had some hopes of being named Commander-in-Chief of the Army himself. Given Lee's experience, he might have had a point. But he was also had his drawbacks. Most notably was his temper. Lee was quick to anger and had a habit of being very vocally and publicly angry when he didn't get his way. Bosses love that. Lee also had some rather odd personal quirks. He was exceptionally fond of dogs and was continually surrounded by them, in particular his much-loved Pomeranian. Never trust a man continually surrounded by tiny dogs. He was also vain and liked tailored suits, but rarely washed them, meaning that he smelled little better than his animals, and worse, according to some. Despite his failings, Lee was both a competent leader and popular with his troops. Washington recognized it and named one of the forts on the Hudson River Fort Lee in his honor. If Washington was hoping that just naming a fort after him would smooth over their rocky relationship, it amazingly didn't work. In fact, as time went on, Lee became less and less fond of Washington and became reluctant to follow his orders at all. When Washington retreated across New York and New Jersey in 1776, he sent several commands to Lee to follow him, which Lee did, but very slowly, which may be what resulted in him being left behind and captured by the British in 1776. Still, it's understandable. He probably had to stop every 5 minutes to let his bloody dogs piss in a hedge. Fortunately for Lee, he'd resigned his commission in the British Army shortly after taking on his role in the Continental Army. That meant instead of being tried for a deserter, his imprisonment in New York was more of an inconvenience. He was wined and dined by the British, allowed to have whomever he wanted as a dinner guest, basically a bed and breakfast. In return, Lee gave up information about the state of the Continental Army. Alright, we got our next mission here. Achilles' Errand.
Good morning.
To you as well. You taking a trip?
I've decided to do something about the house, and you're going to help me. Get in.
Alright. The Davenport Homestead. Back in Boston, 1770.
Don't stare.
Sorry.
Come on.
So the Davenport Homestead, this lovely little collection of buildings, was the headquarters for the original Assassin's Order of the Colonies, a modest Masyaf, if you will. Sometime during the 7 Years' War, the Templars made their move and destroyed it during their assassin witch hunt, by which I mean there was a witch hunt for assassins, not that there were assassin wishes. Achilles survived the attack and stuck around to keep the manor standing, barely by the looks of it. Once Connor came along, it flourished again for several decades, even surpassing its former glory. Then it suddenly vanished in the early 19th century. Any manor that can suddenly vanish is both interesting and unsettling in the same measure, though probably not a great investment.
This place is incredible. The people, the sounds and smells. I could walk these streets for days and know not even half its wonders.
I thought the same as you upon a time. These days, I much prefer the quiet of the countryside.
But there is so much life here. So many opportunities.
For a few, my boy. For a few. There's a store close to here. You're to buy the items on this list. Tell them where the carriage is, and they'll see that it's loaded. Understood?
Yes.
Good. You're also going to need a new name. Your skin is fair enough that you might pass for one with Spanish or Italian blood. Better to be thought a Spaniard than a native.
And she just walked right through him.
And both are better still than I.
That is not true.
What's true and what is aren't always the same.
What would you call me then?
Kana. Yes, that will be your name. All right then, off you go.
Visit the general store for Achilles. The old State House. This building housed the Massachusetts government from 1713 to 1798 before the Revolution. That would have meant the governor, his advisors, and the elected assembly, of course, by elected. I mean elected by white male property owners, since they were the only people that had the right to vote. The assembly also had rather limited power. The governor had a veto over anything they decided, and on occasion dissolved the assembly when they didn't vote his way. Less the governor, more a dictator. In 1767, a gallery was installed above the meeting floor here, so the general public could watch their legislator at work. This was a novel idea at the time. Of course, some representatives probably regretted the decision later when crowds used the area to heckle those who voted pro-British. Then again, perhaps that was the point all along. The government moved out of the building into a bigger space in 1798, and the old building was turned over to merchants, including a wine cellar and a wig maker, making it the colonial equivalent of a shopping mall, though one that mainly dealt in wine and wigs. We have another email received. We'll get there eventually. Now is not the time. The Stamp Act. Passed March 22nd of 1765. The Stamp Act was the British government's attempt to recoup some of the money they spent during the French and Indian War by taxing the American colonists, who theoretically benefited most from it. Parliament chose the Stamp Act because it was simple, easily implemented, and the colonists couldn't smuggle their way out of paying it. All papers, from newspapers to legal documents to lawyers' licenses, would need to purchase a government stamp to be used. Colonists, however, didn't think that Britain had the right to tax them at all, since there were no colonial representatives in Parliament, hence the Snappy Revolution slogan, "No taxation without representation." They also resented the suggestion that they were responsible for Britain's war debts, since the colonial militia had a huge role in fighting and winning the French and Indian War. Huge public protests were organized, run by groups who called themselves the Sons of Liberty. Merchants declared a boycott of British goods. Perhaps most importantly, the people assigned to collect the tax were threatened and intimidated into resigning. This Massachusetts stamp distributor was even paraded through Boston by the Sons of Liberty and forced to resign at the Liberty Tree. No stamp taxes were ever collected by the British, or were ever collected, and British repealed the Stamp Act in March of 1766. But it wasn't an entire victory for the colonies. Parliament then passed something called the Declaratory Act, essentially stating Britain had absolute right to tax the colonists, and there wasn't anything the colonists could do about it. Nothing, that is, except start their own country. I've always fancied doing that. We have the pocket boroughs here. One of the issues surrounding the American Revolution was that the colonies had no representatives, and thus no say in British Parliament. To add insult to injury, some parts of the United Kingdom that had no actual residents did have seats in Parliament. This essentially meant landowners could give the cushy government appointments to whomever they wanted. These areas were known as pocket boroughs because the landowner had them in his pocket, or rotten boroughs. A fun game is to guess why. One of the worst examples was the borough of Old Sarum, which had no voters and 2 seats in Parliament. However, it wasn't the only one. Pocket boroughs were numerous. As of 1761, it's estimated that 250 of the 558 parliamentary boroughs were under this kind of patronage, and the problem wasn't really corrected until the late 19th century. So when the colonists were complaining that the British government was hopelessly corrupt, they had a point. We're still not going to get collectibles yet. We're not to the point where I'm ready to do that.
You lost?
I need the items on this list.
Will you be paying with coin or trade? Some of these things I have, some I don't. Lumber's hard to come by since my supplier up and vanished. I have the tools and pitch, though. Nails, too. So, where do you want this delivered?
Our wagon is near the State House.
All right. Return to Achilles.
I should return to Achilles.
Everyone, who stands in Parliament for Boston? For New York? For Virginia?
Ragtag and Riffraff, come with me!
Oh, there's something going on. Look at people are fighting.
Toss some quips at the lobsters.
What happened?
Alright, so we got a loyalist here. Loyalists were colonists who sided with the British during the Revolution. They were also known as Tories, Royalists, and King's Men, and probably also by their enemies as those bloody arse-kissing ninny hammers, among other things. While being a loyalist might seem to you like the bad guys, that's only because you know the Patriots won. It's very easy to use history to look smart, even if you were subjected to the American education system. And system is a strong word. In fact, by some estimates, as many as 1 in 5 colonists were active loyalists, and many more tried not to pick a side altogether. I expect the version of the story you've heard goes something like this. The Loyalists were traitors who betrayed their fellow Americans to the British. That's a nice little fiction, since from a Loyalist perspective, the opposite was true. The colonies were founded and owned by Britain. The colonists were therefore British citizens, thus the rebels were trying to disobey the king, were the real traitors here. Ah, you see? You're a country of traitors. Try spinning that. Sean. You'd also have to be pretty brave to be a loyalist, particularly if you know the people in your community were patriots. Known loyalists were frequently dragged from their homes, beaten, burned with candles, or tarred and feathered. And that's just in case you suffered from the delusion that the patriots always took the moral high ground. And then we have patriots here, of course. Patriots were the colonists who united against the British government in the Revolutionary War. Although at the time of the Revolution, patriot was something of a negative term. That's what we call patriots today. What we call patriots today were more likely to be called Whigs, or if you were a loyalist, rebels. The patriot model was no taxation without representation, a great phase for rabble-rousing, though a poor choice of catchphrase for, say, a game show host. That's also a phrase that requires a bit more unpacking for a modern audience, by which I mean you, Desmond. The colonies didn't elect representatives to the British legislature, and because of the travel between Britain and America, the distinct lack of aeroplanes, it wouldn't have been practical. Instead, patriots wanted to be governed by representatives within the colonies. Of course, they did have legislators already, but those were rather prone to being shut down by British-appointed governors whenever they didn't behave properly. Read, do exactly what the governor wanted. Or read, do exactly what the governor wanted. It's hard to know how many people in the colonies were patriots, but the best guess is between 40 and 45% of the population. The rest were either declared loyalists or people who decided to remain tactically neutral. Probably a wise choice, given that both sides were known for seizing property of their enemies.
That's what we're going to find out. Follow me.
With me! To King Street! We'll show them! Down to the customs house for a spree! Come along!
I say again, disperse! Congregating in this manner is forbidden.
We're not going anywhere, Bug.
Oi! Why did you go back to England?
No good can come of this chaos. Return to your homes, and all will be forgiven.
Never!
Not until you've answered for your crimes!
You're right, cowards!
You don't scare us.
Pointing guns at unarmed.
We ain't afraid!
Oh, look. Hey
Is
them.
that my father?
Yes, which means trouble is sure to follow. I need you to tail his accomplice.
Tail his accomplice.
This crowd is a powder keg. We can't allow him to light the fuse.
But
nothing. Do as I say and go.
Come on, you gosh got it!
Alright, so we got Hatham Kenway here. Oh, and it's just a new intro. Hatham Kenway is a Templar who came to the American colonies in 1754. From what we learned, Kenway was sent there by Grand Master Reginald Birch with a dual mission: establish his own Templar group to rival the colonial assassins, and search for clues about artifacts related to the first civilization. And when a Grand Master tells you to do something, you do it, even if it's just a chess Grand Master. Kenway didn't find the artifacts he was looking for. He did, however, recruit a small, dedicated band of Templars. He also attempted to forge a relationship with the Kanakahaka in the frontier, and one woman in particular, Kanatizio. The two were briefly lovers, and however brief it was enough because Kanatizio, unbeknownst to Hatham, ended up raising their son Connor. I'm guessing it was Kenway who became Grand Master in the colonies, and therefore the man responsible for the 1763 attack on the colonial assassins. That wiped out most of the membership and almost all of our records from that era. It's never been exactly clear what happened in that attack or how Kenway managed to make it such a complete surprise. In any case, I don't think I like this guy. Sorry to use such strong words.
Coward! You doesn't can shoot at me.
Hey, Lobster! Go ahead! Fire your little gun!
You red-backed, rum-soaked, bacon-faced lout! I'd as soon bite you as piss on you!
You reeking squad, take a swing at me, why don't you?
Boy, you there! What's all the fuss about?
Fire at the townhouse.
Oh, what's that nonsense?
Your plot is ended.
Not quite.
Damn you! Fire!
Alright, escape within the given time is what it wants us to do now.
I need to find Achilles.
We did get a newspaper in the Assassin database here. So we got the Boston Massacre. March 5th of 1770, the Boston Massacre was the culmination of several fights between British soldiers and the people of Boston. A group of British soldiers fired into a crowd at point-blank range, killing 5. The reality of it is less damning to the British than it sounds. What started out as an argument about a wigmaker's bill, of all things, turned into a mob. Hundreds of Boston citizens kept 8 British regulars cornered for hours. By the end of it, many were holding clubs, throwing stones, and taunting the soldiers to fire. Captain Thomas Preston was in charge of the regulars and tried to defuse the situation by talking with the crowd. They asked if his soldiers' guns were loaded. He admitted that they were, but it would have been stupid for him to order them to fire, since at the time he was standing in front of them. It wasn't until one of the soldiers was hit by a stone, which forced him to drop his musket, that the regulars fired into the crowd against the orders of Preston, who later testified he never gave the command to fire. It's possible his men mistook the taunts of the crowd for an order. The regulars were arrested and tried for murder. 6 were acquitted, including Thomas Preston. The other 2 men were found guilty of manslaughter, but had their thumbs branded in lieu of a sentence, the usual sentence, which was death. Of the interesting things about the massacre is what happened afterwards. That is how both sides tried to spin it to their advantage. The fact that most people call it a massacre should give you some idea of who won this particular PR war. Revolutionaries portrayed it as an attack on colonial liberties, and the images of the event, popularized by Paul Revere, showed an organized British force firing into the crowd, not a confused group of soldiers cornered by an angry mob. The British, on the other hand, referred to the event, the incident on King Street, were naturally calm in a crisis, unlike countries who insist on turning every minor confrontation into a 3-ring circus. Anyway, the windmaker dropped his prices, and it never happened again. I call it a victory for the bold. And then this is the newspaper article, I believe. The Boston Massacre on King Street. Doubtless our readers well know that on the evening of Monday last, a squadron of soldiers formed before the custom house fired into a crowd of citizens, killing 4 and wounding many. Our readers will expect a circumstantial account of the tragic affair, but we hope they will excuse our being particularly cautious, as we should be, had we not seen that the town was attending an inquiry of full representation thereof. However, some few facts appear to be established. Following upon an altercation between some lads of the town and a single posted guard at the custom house, an increasing number of citizens came to that place and with heat shouted down the guard. In like manner, a large group of citizens gathered in King Street. Captain Thomas Preston perceived from the main guard house his soldier in distress, and left the main guard with a party of men with charged bayonets. The soldiers came pushing their bayonets, crying, "Make way!" They took place by the custom house and continued to push to drive the people off, pricked some in several places, on which they were clamorous, and, it is said, threw snowballs and perhaps portions of ice. The crowd taunting the soldiers, shouting, "Fire! You dare not fire!" On this, more snowballs coming, someone cried out, "Damn you, fire!" One soldier then fired, and a townsman with a cudgel struck him over the hands with such force that he dropped his firelock, and rushing forward, aimed a blow at the captain's head, which grazed his hat and fell pretty heavy upon his arm. However, the soldiers continued the fire successively till 7 or 8, or some say 11 guns were discharged. By this fatal maneuver, 3 men were laid dead upon the spot, 2 more struggling for life, but what showed a decree of cruelty unknown to British troops, at least since the House of Hanover has directed their operation, was an attempt to fire upon or push with their bayonets the persons who undertook to remove the slain and wounded. The dead are Mr. Samuel Gray, killed on the spot, a ball entering his head and beating off a large portion of his skull. A mulatto man named Crispus Atticus, who also killed instantly, 2 balls entering his breast, one of them in special goring the right lobe of the lungs and a great part of the liver most horribly. Mr. James Caldwell, mate of Captain Morton's vessel, in a manner killed by 2 balls entering his back. Mr. Samuel Maverick, a promising youth of 17 years of age, son of the widow Maverick, and an apprentice to Mr. Greenwood, ivory turner. A ball went through his belly and was cut out at his back. He died the next morning. Mr. Patrick Carr, about 30 years of age, who worked with Mr. Field, leather breeches maker in Queen Street, wounded, a ball entering near his hip and went out his side. Apprehended, he will die. And several others requiring surgery, suffering loss of blood, shattered bones, and lodged musket balls. Governor Hutchinson has exerted himself in an effort to quell the town. He has ordered the arrest of said Captain Preston, as well as the soldiers involved, until such a time as an investigation and general ordering of the facts can be made. Sorry, I just was checking something here. And that is the newspaper article for the Boston Massacre. We need to get going. I got more stuff here. Okay. What is this mission? Oh, it's a store with a new item. That's what it's marking there. Okay.
Over here.
And we get an entry for Samuel Adams here before the quest starts. So Samuel Adams, born 1722. Samuel Adams was a Boston lawyer and signatory of the Declaration of Independence and a prominent political figure during the lead up to the American Revolution. I think that's put a little life into your perspective, hasn't it? Adams was born in Massachusetts, the son of another Samuel Adams, who was a well-off merchant. Adams, the younger one, went to Harvard, graduating in 1740. He went into business for himself, but was a dismal failure and ended up taking a job in the family brewery. A lot of men turn to breweries when their businesses fail, but in rather a different way. That was fortunate for his historical legacy, since his relationship to beer made him maybe the only reason most Americans have even ever heard of him. Adams was elected to the Massachusetts legislature in 1765, which was the beginning of his political career. He was a staunch supporter of colonist rights, mainly the ever-popular arguments over whether British Parliament had a right to impose taxes, but wasn't pro-independence, at least not at first. I think it's fair to say he changed his mind later. Adams is often portrayed as an angry radical, but that's a bit of a biased picture. Adams disliked vigilantism for the most part, though he approved when a mob forced Boston stamp collector to resign, so perhaps he only disliked some vigilantism. In later years, when Adam was in Congress, he refused even to join a political party because he found the idea divisive, a sentiment which he shared with George Washington incidentally. However, Adams' reputation for being a rabble-rouser is somewhat understandable. He was representative for the town of Boston after the Boston Massacre and succeeded in having the regulars kicked out of town. He spoke at the Old South Meeting Hall just prior to the Boston Tea Party, and it said he gave the signal for the dumping of the tea, though there's some debate over whether he was involved, which I'm happy about, as a gentleman does not waste tea. Adams was infamous enough that he had to leave Boston for Lexington in 1775 to avoid arrest by the British, who considered him a troublemaker. When the siege of Boston began, the Massachusetts governor offered to pardon any rebels who would lay down their arms except Adams and John Hancock. Overall, Adams certainly was a thorn in the side of the British, though what puzzles me is why some Americans think being an angry revolutionary was a bad thing. If it got you where you are today, didn't it? Actually, hang about, yes, maybe I see your point after all.
You're Achilles' boy. Connor, was it? I saw what happened at the townhouse. A fine mess, that.
Who are you?
Samuel Adams, at your service. Achilles asked me to get you out of Boston.
Explain.
The whole city's looking for you.
Oh yay, oh yay! A criminal stalks the streets, wanted in connection with the massacre at the townhouse. Citizens are advised to call the guards if they see him. £10 to whoever brings this madman.
What am I supposed to do?
You can take down these posters for a start. Return to me once you remove the others. Take down those posters and then we'll talk.
Okay, take down some wanted posters. There's a lot of people around here all of a sudden. Do I have any optional objectives right now?
A show of solidarity with the protesters? Vengeance for an attack on his people? Or was it merely an act of madness? I fear we shall have no answer.
Oh, I don't even know. Oh, it's a Jaeger. This guy like walking through the middle of our fight right here. He's gonna walk right around the corner and see me. Okay.
Ah, Connor. There you are. I'd like you to meet Cyrus.
Is he the killer?
Tease. Cyrus is on our side, or rather, for the right price, he will be.
Have you seen this man?
Watch and learn.
Oh yay! Oh yay! Word has reached us that the man responsible for today's shooting may have been in disguise. A wig and makeup tin were found near the scene of the crime. Witnesses describe a middle-aged gentleman of pale complexion fleeing towards the wharves, rifle in arm.
Thank you kindly, Cyrus.
Pleasure.
Come on, then. There's still one last bit of work to do.
Where are we going?
To the printer. Where do you think all those posters came from? They're made by a machine. We need to shut it down.
Okay, so we need to escort Sam to the underground entrance of the Green Tavern. Take out a guy there. How are these ones patrolling around here? Okay, I wonder if I can go this way then. Doesn't seem like it. Alright, so that contingent's walking down that way, which is good. Alright, come on, Sam.
Here we are, then. I'll see you inside. Hold on.
It's dark. Escort Sam through the underground to the Northport exit.
Use your lantern to light the lamps, Connor. They'll help us find our way should we get turned around.
I wonder why they built these tunnels.
Excellent. Let us move on. Much as it pains me to say it, we must follow the rats, as they often move in the direction of an exit.
I didn't see which way the rats went.
Well, well. You were right. I apologize for ever doubting. No wonder Achilles has taken such an interest in you. Arse. I don't suppose lockpicking is part of your repertoire? Well done. The printer isn't far. Let us reconvene there.
All right. Alright, so the printer's just on the other side of this house. These buildings. This is the Old North Meeting House. Don't confuse this place with the Old North Church. It's actually a completely different building, which is why it has a different name. This particular meeting house was the second oldest congregation in Boston, which earned it the alternate name, the Second Church. What an age of endless imagination this was. Get a good look while you can. This wooden building will be torn down in 1776 and used as firewood. The church members would tell you this because the British don't like them much, and perhaps they have a point, because they still don't. The Reverend Mr. Lathrop was known for his pro-rebel sermons, and tellingly, he and most of his congregation weren't in Boston in 1776. I wonder why. After the Old North Meeting House was torn down, Christchurch inherited the prestigious Old North title, becoming the Old North Church that most people know. We also have a recent entry here for Jaegers. Hessians were German soldiers who were hired by the British to fight in the Revolutionary War. While Hessians technically referred to soldiers who were from the state of Hessen-Kassel, it came to be a blanket term for all of the German mercenaries who fought in the Revolution. The imprecision is easy to understand, of course. When a troop of German soldiers lined up and started firing at you in a war, only the most misguided of geography nerds would stop to ask where they're from. So me, then. Among the Hessian troops who were sent to fight in the American Revolution, at least two units referred to as Jaegers. These were light infantry troops known for being accurate marksmen. Accurate marksmen were very much the best sort of marksmen. The word Jaeger also happens to be German for hunter, and early members of the Jaeger's troops were mainly comprised of experienced foresters. Again, really accurate gunmen who were good at fighting in the woods, exactly the kind of soldier you want for a war in the American frontier. Unsurprisingly, this made Jaegers the most feared and respected divisions of the Hessians.
You ask a great deal of me, Sam.
I know, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't important, if it wasn't vital.
Fine. Just this once, though. In the future, such things will come at a price. Resetting the type is neither quick nor easy. To say nothing of the cost should I be discovered.
I shall not forget this kindness.
Nor I.
His work will see your last little bit of notoriety erased. Come, I'll show you how to leave now that order's been restored. So, now you've had a chance to see how it all works.
So printer shops here, I think is not something in the Animus database, yeah.
Upset the citizens and inevitably lead to the guards being called. Depending on the severity of your transgression, they may simply search a bit before giving up and returning to their posts. But should you offend them severely or repeatedly, they'll become much more aggressive in their pursuits. I've shown you 3 ways to turn the tide. Remove wanted posters, bribe town criers, or visit a printer to create your own propaganda.
This feels wrong. Why not just speak to someone and explain my innocence?
You can't be serious.
We counter one lie with another. Words on paper instantly taken as truth. And all of it without question.
They loose this beast. Or have you forgotten? I merely helped you tame and turn it round.
Who's this guy walking
There must
with
be
me?
another way. Something more honest.
Well, when you find it, do let me know. But until then, we sculpt with the clay we have.
My apologies. I do not mean to sound ungrateful.
Quite all right. I was much the same at your age. You'll grow out of it.
And if I do not? If I refuse?
Then... Here we are. Speak with the harbor master.
I like the way to lower your level of threat.
Thank you for everything, Sam. I promise one day to repay
I like the
the
way to lower your level of threat
Oh, I'm
that
counting
have
on
in
it.
this game. They have in this game.
Like this.
All right. So that puts us up to 3 here. Connor needs to stop being a jerk to those trying to help him. Agreed. All right, we're going to head back to the Davenport homestead here. And we need to make it back to the house. All right. The Lost Sons return.
Welcome back.
You left me in Boston.
The training we've done here is all well and good, but experience is a better teacher by far.
What of my father?
Into the wind, I'm afraid.
We have to find him.
And we will, after the house has been repaired.
But he's out there plotting who knows what.
And what would you do when you found him? If you found him? You're a boy with a few months of training. He's a man, full grown, who spent decades honing his skills. If you're going to stand a chance against the Templars, you're going to need these.
The Hidden Blades.
Go on before I change my mind.
No, we're coming, Godfrey.
You, sir, please, help! He's going to die!
River rescue.
Ooh.
There's no time! Please, come! Down there! He's just passed under the bridge!
Alright, and this one's got a secondary objective that we need to get him without touching the water.
Please! Someone! Help! Help me! Please!
And we have to reach him before he goes over the waterfall.
Someone! Help! Someone! Help! Someone! Help!
I always remember I had issues with this one for some reason, like I couldn't get here fast enough. But it looks like we did it. First try.
What this knobbend is trying to say is he's forever in your debt, sir.
Who you calling? A knob end?
You, because you are one.
What were you doing on those logs?
One of the dangers of lumbering. We've got the camp set up a few rods off of here, as we're cutting timber. We're hoping to open a mill in the area.
There's a good place not far from the manor on the hill where I'm staying.
I like you already. We'll have a look.
Yeah, you had issues with that one. Look at that first try. Bam.
I'll miss the peace and quiet, but we can certainly use the wood.
The manor needs a lot of work.
That and other things. Meet me at the small shack by the shoreline when you have time. There's something else you need to see.
What is it?
An asset.
Alright, we're getting close to being done with everything here. So we got another homestead mission up here. And looks like we have medicine here. I'm not entirely sure. Which is Diana. And there's Terry. There's Catherine. Okay, we're gonna fast travel up here really quick. The wolves kept showing up and messing up the mission. That would be a pain. Alright, we don't want to jump though. We want to walk over here. Excuse me. Oh, these guys are just like upchucking me is what's happened. I didn't have a chance to counter that one. Okay, help the stranger.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you all right?
I think so. Didn't do much to me aside from a good scare. Blackguards.
What did they want with you?
My purse, which was meager, and they decided to punish me for their trouble. Silly, really. My tools and equipment were worth a king's share to the right man. In any case, I best get on my way. It's a long walk to the nearest inn. I thank you again for your kindness.
Have you no home?
Oh, well, I was a proud resident of Boston until recently, but I'm not a supporter of His Majesty, and, well, I was forced out of my woodshop and home by loyalists.
There are plenty around here who could use the services of a skilled craftsman if you were looking for somewhere to settle.
Is that right? I may look into that.
All right. So we got a new recipe for barrels. Now, just a second. Thank you.
Morning.
You can watch people and like see what they're doing, and it like unlocks stuff. And the homestead book, which I don't have unlocked yet, so it's probably not going to work anyways.
See, these are myths, but I have them. Just get me a ship
So,
and we'll find out what it was he
let's get this training begins mission done, and then we'll be done with sequence 5, I do believe.
Go away!
Said go away, boy!
If you do
Not speak
Eagle
the
Vision
king's
and they are
English?
highlighted, it means you can scan them. Ah, gotcha. Thank you
Oh,
for
I
the
didn't
clarification.
See you there, old man. I'd have set my home in order if I'd known you'd be calling.
The boy's name is Connor. He's here to restore the property.
Restore? Restore? Pardon my manners. She's still the fastest in the Atlantic. Sure, she needs some attention. Minor things mostly, but with a little affection, she'll fly again.
Who is she?
Who is she? Why, the Aquila boy, the ghost of the North Seas.
The boat.
A boat?
Or
She's
that
a
they're doing
ship
something that
boy,
can't be
and make
scanned.
no
Sometimes
mistake
they are
about
doing
it.
something you've already scanned,
I
but still
thought you
appears
brought him here
yellow.
to restore
Gotcha.
order. I reckon he's the greenest thing on the frontier.
Connor, meet me back at the manor when you've finished here.
You said it requires repairs. You able?
She does need work. A ship is a she, boy. And yes, I can refit her, but I'm
I have a
lacking
few
proper
of those
supplies.
scans still to do. Some of them are annoying to
quality
get.
Timber would help me get started.
I can see to that. How long before she is able to sail again?
Just get me the lumber, boy. I'll raise a crew.
All right, we need to go back and reach Achilles. We have an entry here for Robert Faulkner. Robert Faulkner is probably the most storied member of the Assassin's Navy, though he was never formally named to a position above first mate. Robert Faulkner was a fourth generation of his family to be a seaman. I'm glad I didn't have to say that aloud like I did. But the first in his family to be recruited for the work of the Assassins. He started off in the Royal Navy, but finding his career stalled, partly due to his inability to purchase commissions, he left to work for the United Company of Merchants. In 1753, Faulkner disappeared from the historical record, presumed dead, but that's because he joined the Assassins as first mate of the flagship, the Aquila. Faulkner was much sought after as a mariner. Recruiting him was quite a coup for the Brotherhood. He had a reputation for having a disciplined crew and a most uncanny knack for avoiding trouble, not to mention predicting the weather. Whether through years of experience or some other mysterious ability, because I totally believe in those, Faulkner would know when a storm or calm patch of sea was coming in, and could use it to his advantage. Imagine that, a natural weatherman who could accurately predict the weather. The world would never see his like again. Faulkner soared aboard the Aquila until it was nearly destroyed in 1768, always deferring when asked to become the captain. He never gave his reasons why. However, his love for the ship was quite touching. He had it towed to its location near Boston, despite doubts that it would ever be seaworthy again. Faulkner could have gone back to sea aboard another ship, but didn't. He stayed close to his ever-deteriorating Aquila and took to drinking, which is where Connor found him. We also got the Aquila here. Don't let appearances deceive you. You're looking at the former flagship of the Assassin Navy, if perhaps a little past its prime. The Aquila was built in France in 1749 in the city of Brest. Stop it. The design was incredibly innovative for its time. The ship was light, fast, and could carry a surprising amount of artillery for its size. It would be decades before there were schooners that could match the Aquila's speed. Of course, there were some disadvantages to the design, namely that the ship handling was very touchy and required an experienced crew. That meant the Aquila was underutilized until the Assassins hired someone who was able to use the ship to its full potential, Robert Faulkner. In 1754, the Aquila followed the Templar ship into a storm and was lost with all hands on board, or so we wanted the Templars to think. In reality, it sustained only minor damage, was refitted, and became the Assassin's secret weapon. Staying out of major harbors and using its speed and element of surprise to harass ships on Templar business. The Aquila took on mythical qualities. It was whispered about in ports along the eastern seaboard as the ghost of the North Seas, a pirate vessel crewed by ghosts that could appear and disappear into a sudden fog. This reputation was due to Faulkner's uncommon skill and the superstitious nature of most sailors who loved a ghost story and all wanted to marry a mermaid. Eventually, the Templars cottoned on to what had happened, but it did take them more than a decade. They weren't the sharpest tools, let's say, in a box full of spoons. In 1768, the ship was caught in a trap by 3 British frigates. The Aquila was able to limp away from the battle, but it ran aground in shallow water. The British left it for lost. Robert Faulkner survived the battle and had the ship towed back to a private bay near Boston, where it and Faulkner slowly deteriorated. That is, until Connor found them both. All right. Woohoo! Back to the house we run.
There you are. I've something to show you. Come, take a look.
What is it?
A ledger. It lets us manage the homestead's dealings.
And these?
That was years ago. Before the slow fever, before the Templars, before everything collapsed. But that's all in the past. Better we focus on what's in front of us. Take up the ledger, and I'll teach you how it all works.
Alright, so this is the economy system in the game. So first you want to stockpile stuff. And we're going to stockpile lumber. And then we're going to back out. And then we're going to go over to the trading menu. So we have a land convoy. We can give it stuff from our stockpile. And then we can choose who to send it to. It's going to make us send it here. And then we do Y to send the convoy. And you can see it's got a 35% risk, 30% tax, and it's going to make us 65 monies, which is not a lot. But that's okay. It's pretty neat later. You can make quite a bit of money from it.
Time passed quickly after that. My days a blur of study, training, and work. What little free time Achilles allowed me was spent learning about the Templars, about Charles Lee and my father. I longed to confront them, to put an end to their schemes, to ensure my people would remain untroubled and free. But I knew it was too soon.
Alright, so looking here at our DNA tracker, we still have one more to do.
That to approach them now would see me killed. All my work would be for nothing.
And it looks like the last thing we need to do is back over here at the Aquila.
These proved the most difficult subjects for me. But in time, I mastered them as well. Days became months. Months became years.
Whether we run around or we dive off
here. As my skills and knowledge grew, so too did I.
Alright, so let's finish out this last mission of Sequence 5.
Come aboard and feast your eyes, boy. No, not the left foot. Never the left foot. Horrible look. Step with your right foot first.
She is
Sploosh.
solid?
Aye. Weatherly and sleek. She'll fetch 12 knots in a stiff gale. Ne'er a ship from here to Singapore can outrun her on her best day. What do you say we take her out and show you what she can do firsthand?
Where would we go?
As it happens, she still needs guns and the officers to command them. We'll launch straight away. Don't worry, lad. I'll make sure you sprout good sea legs. Haul in the mainsail! Get up the rigging! Hand over fist! Come on, men! Let's get her out where she needs to be!
Alright, land convoy to Boston. 10 minutes is what that thing says. So there are times where your convoys can get attacked in the frontier and you need to go,
no
like,
time like the present.
help them. That's the risk. This is where we learn how to sail.
Take the helm.
Alright, so we got a thing here on naval ships. You probably don't know much about 18th century naval warfare because you don't know much about anything at all. So here's a rundown of some types of vessels you're likely to encounter. Frigates. These are long, relatively light vessels with a lot of guns, more than 28 if you want to get technical about it. Frigates were light and easily maneuverable, so they were often used for reconnaissance or escorting merchant vessels. Frigate is also a terrific word if you want to swear, but your mother-in-law is nearby. Gunboats. These are smaller vessels, generally containing only one gun, but it was a really big gun. The gun on the boat is where the term gunboat gets its word, gun, from. It's not known why the word boat is there. Gunboats were relatively inexpensive to build and could be assembled quickly. They were most often used to bombard targets on land, though gunboats can easily be destroyed by a larger ship, such as a frigate. Several gunboats together could do some serious damage, for a larger ship could destroy them all. Strength in numbers, and guns, of course, mostly guns. Schooners. Schooners are a small light craft noted for their speed. These were the preferred ships for privateers during the American Revolution. There was nothing better for breaking through enemy lines faster than you could get shot at, or for making a fast getaway. Nowadays, of course, we have jet skis and a man of war. This really isn't really a naval classification, but more of a catch-all term for a warship carrying a lot of cannon. Most of the man of wars you'll see will likely be ships of the line, which are essentially big ships with multiple gun decks stacked on one another. Basically, naval warfare consisted of lining up your ship's broadside against an enemy's ships in order to hit them with the most cannonballs possible. Of course, the enemy would be trying to do the same thing. Predictably, the biggest ships with the most guns usually won, leading to building more ships with even bigger guns. It wasn't sophisticated, but by God, it worked.
Double time, boy. It's time you learn. Come on. She won't bite. You're connected to half sail.
Sail through the channel. Do not take any damage before you reach Arthur's Vineyard.
Yeah, killer flies again. Do you feel it, lad? Set a course for Martha's Vineyard. We'll find our guns and officers there. She's a nimble vessel, but the faster she goes, the more cumbersome she grows. And the firmer your hand needs to be. Enjoy this stretch of open water before we come upon those shallows. Call for full sail if you like. Wind looks to be shifting. Stay alert, Connor. Gusty winds can be difficult to manage. Now, take us through these shallows. Careful not to run up on them. The sandbars will slow us down, but the rocks will put a hole through a hole. And if you want to make a quick tack, call for half sail. She's more maneuverable then.
Alright, so we just need to sail to Martha's Vineyard, and we need to not take any damage.
Mind those other vessels. Hold your tack to keep your right of way.
We just drop it back down to half sail as the rogue wind comes in. just checking. We don't have anything else in the Animus database. Nope. And we need to dock at the pier.
Cottages. We're close. Drop anchor. We'll go ashore, buy our guns, find our officers.
All right. First part done.
Oh, hello, Miss Mandy. You're looking every bit as ravishing as I remember.
After all these years, you sail all the way to the vineyard to pay me compliments?
We are looking for David and Richard Clutterbuck.
Nice to see you, too.
Robert Faulkner, where the hell you been?
Sorry for leaving like I did, lads, but where I was going, no one could...
Man, the background noise is loud here. Holy moly.
No, between contracts at the moment.
Well, we're looking for gunnery officers. What would you two say to working with me again?
We'd be for getting into a few more scraps.
Good show. The Aquila is a fine vessel. We're fitting all the guns as we speak.
Looks like your friend's about to catch a beating.
Where is Charles Lee?
I don't much care for your tone.
Hey, you don't want to be doing that, Biddle.
Bobby Faulkner turned to wet nursing. Good you finally realize you're a shite sailor.
Whoa, 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 not in here, gentlemen. Better still, not at all. Bobby, take your friends and get out!
Let's go, boys. Our guns ought to be ready. Come on.
All right, so we got David and Richard Clutterbuck. David and Richard Clutterbuck were gunners in the merchant navies starting in the mid-18th century, according to the reputation. These two aren't averse to a friendly fistfight over pretty much anything. So if you're talking to them, try not to mix up their names. David is the older brother, Richard the younger. Oh, and definitely don't try and be funny with their surname. The Clutterbucks were a Dutch family who moved to London when Richard and David were younger. Their father was a dock worker, and the two brothers grew up near and in the dockyards, running errands to pass the time and earned extra cash. They showed an early aptitude, an affinity, if you will, for fighting. The two brothers joined a crew with Robert Faulkner on board the Stalwart in 1750 and worked with him until he disappeared in 1753. Unlike many who go to sea in search of adventure and treasure, the Clutterbucks' motivation was somewhat different. Guns. They grew up hearing stories of the sea, but it wasn't until they overheard a gunner talking about the power of his cannon that they decided a sailor's life was for them. The sailor was not, in fact, talking about an actual cannon, but an impressionable lad's missed it. Do you see what I'm saying? I'm saying he was talking about another type of cannon. A different weapon altogether. I'm saying that he was saying his cannon had power. I'm using speech marks to make it obvious. He still had a powerful weapon. He wielded an enormous penis. Still don't get it? Oh well. The Clutterbucks spent years of traveling on various merchant and privateer vessels, almost always hiring on as a pair. They eventually settled Sippy permanently in Mars's Vineyard, taken as a place to rest between contracts before they would get tired of all the quiet and hire out to another crew. I'll explain the joke again later. We have one for Amanda Bailey here. Amanda Bailey was a well-known and well-liked innkeeper in Martha's Vineyard around the time of the American Revolution. She was born in North Carolina in 1730, the oldest of a large family. Her mother died when she was 14, leaving young Amanda to work to help to care for her younger brothers and sisters alone. Amanda first crossed paths with Robert Faulkner when she was a teenager. He was working in the United Company of Merchants, and she was a barmaid. Clearly a recipe for romance. They exchanged letters. I suppose it was the texting of its day, which stopped when Faulkner disappeared from Halifax to join the Assassins. Sad face. Despite reports that Faulkner had fallen overboard and was dead, Amanda felt that he was still alive somewhere, and after several years she went in search of him, possibly so she could give him hell for abandoning her, but I'm speculating. She never found Faulkner and eventually settled in Martha's Vineyard, taking a job working at a local inn, which she later purchased. Amanda had a born talent for leadership and organization. She was responsible for setting up the first school in the area, not to mention advocating for improvements to the docks to bring in more business. Her inn was a hub for gossip during the Revolution, particularly if you wanted the latest in ship movements. It will probably come as no surprise to you that she was a spy for the Patriots, but it has only been publicly known since 1919 when a box of her personal correspondence was found, including coded notes in Benjamin Talmadge's handwriting. And then I think we had one more for Nicholas Biddle. Nicholas Biddle was an ambitious young sailor who came to be one of the first captains of the Continental Navy. Biddle joined the Royal Navy in 1770, I mean the British side, but when the American Revolution started, he offered his services to the Continental Congress. So a traitor then. Though it's funny how you lot don't generally see it that way. Anyway, while he was only a midshipman for the British, Congress quickly gave him command of his own ship, the Franklin. In 1776, was offered an even better deal, command of a brand new ship named the Randolph. History's mute on the reasons behind Biddle's rise to prominence. However, I think I might be able to solve the mystery. We saw Church recruiting him when Connor stopped at Nantucket. Biddle eventually became a privateer for the Continental Congress, patrolling British shipping routes, harassing their ships, and keeping the spoils from any he could capture. He had a reputation as an excellent captain. He divided the spoils evenly and never used corporal punishment against his crew. What a softy. Pitiful, really. Though I think you can see why it would be a job perk. Alright, we're going to go back up and take the wheel yet again. Getting close to finishing out this mission and this episode.
What the bloody hell was that about? The older man is a Templar. Who was he with?
Templar? The young cock was Nicholas Biddle. Nobody. Sails before the mast. Midshipman for the crown.
Are the guns ready?
Aye, but we won't jump in over our heads. We'll find a suitable target and show you how they work. We've fitted her with a modest amount of guns to start, but rest assured there's ample room to add more should you feel the need. Looks like a British frigate with half seas over. Should do nicely for a spotted target practice. Bring around broadside, and when all guns are on target, call fire. Well done, boy! Now, aim all guns at her bow and do as much damage as possible. Good! Now give the swivel guns a turn. More precise. Hit those old powder barrels and light up the sky.
Not bad for a spot, Captain.
You are a fast learner.
Provided something interests me.
Ah, getting a taste for the open sea, are we? We'll make a jack tar out of you yet. Now we should be getting back. The old man is like to have my hide for keeping you out so long.
Alright, we need to return to the homestead, it says. Oh, we acquired 65. Our caravan has made it. Alright, so we need to successfully brace when attacked and use the swivel guns to destroy 2 ships.
Destroying property of the crown, disturbing the king's peace, take your pick.
What do we do?
Naught else but to fight back. Sink the bastard.
Alright, we need to successfully brace, too. Did that count? I think we need to wait till a bigger ship comes. They haven't told us how to brace yet.
English frigate! I'll be betwattled, another one. Where in the bloody hell did she come from?
Does that one count? I don't know if that one counts. Oh, it does. That's nice. So we need to successfully brace 3 more times. Alright, one more. Okay. Well, that one would have been fine. Oh well. Rather safe than sorry. Got him.
Back to your first voyage, boy. Now we best be getting back, or the old man'll have my guts for garters.
Okay.
I got 'em! All of 'em! You get what I need, and I'll give 'em to you. Simple. You got a ship, could find 'em all to boot.
Who is that man?
Him? Some old salt always on about letters he's got from Captain Kidd. Nonsense, really, but he doesn't hurt no one, so I'll leave him be. Talk to him if you fancy, but be warned he'll chew your ear off. Anyway, the Aquila's here for you. If you should get a pang for the open sea, we'll be waiting. Now, I implore you to head up the hill before the old man comes out of retirement just for me.
There's no house there.
Few weeks. And not even a goodbye before you left.
Sorry.
Well, what are you waiting for? Put them on. Once upon a time, we had a ceremony on such occasions. But I don't think either of us are really the type for that. You've your tools and training, your targets and goals. And now you have your title. Welcome to the Brotherhood, Connor.
All right. That finishes sequence number 5 for us.
Welcome back, Desmond. You'll be happy to hear there's actually good news for once.
Yeah?
I've managed to locate a power source, and it's relatively close by. Up for a trip to Manhattan?
Is it safe to leave? Abstergo's gotta be looking for us.
Obviously it's not safe. Can't exactly sit around here hoping to get lucky, though, can we? We need that power source. Besides, I'm sure you can cook up some way to hide our movements.
Maybe. The Templars have access to all kinds of satellites and camera systems. We'll need to find a way to mask our digital signature. I can probably camouflage the van, too. But there's not much I can do for us.
That's an easy one.
Does it, like, throw us straight into it? Do we not even get a choice?
Local utility companies have assured the public that they're completely prepared for the upcoming solar maximum. Disruptions to service are expected to be minimal.
If only they knew.
What's this?
A remote-operated camera. It'll provide us with a feed while you're on mission. This will let us talk to each other.
We're almost there, so listen up. The artifact is in an office penthouse in Lower Manhattan. At this time of night, direct infiltration is going to get you noticed. I think we're better off having you drop in from above. What do you mean, above?
Mm-hmm. So we are going straight into this mission. Man, that's loud. Holy moly.
You hear me? Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yep, reach you just fine. Now why don't you power up the camera? I've got pictures. Running diagnostics. Perfect. I've got a nice strong signal.
Alright, we're just going to be moving forward through here. Good deal.
Oh, that's a hold still. It's a lovely view.
Seriously, Sean? Fuck you.
Language. We going up still? Onto this beam.
Jesus.
Look on the bright side. No security to worry about.
And on the not so bright side, the slightest misstep means you're effectively taste.
Shut up, Sean.
Up onto this beam. Around we go. I wish they had more of these missions, though. I always wanted, like, an Assassin's game in modern day.
Should?
It'll be fine, don't worry.
Well, you might want to worry a little. I'm pretty sure she was high when she was running the numbers.
Sean!
A joke. It was a joke. Or was it?
Jump when you're ready, but wait for my signal to open the chute. Timing's really important here. Too soon or too late, and you'll miss the building. Now, open your chute.
We were just aiming for the big H-pad.
That wasn't so bad.
So, you must be Desmond. Not exactly what I expected, but I guess your kind doesn't have many options these days.
Who are you?
Ask your father. Now give me that.
I don't think so.
Look, I'm not supposed to kill you, but the boss man didn't say anything about fucking you up. So you've got to the counter.
So who the hell is Daniel Cross?
Believe it or not, he used to be an assassin. The assassin, the way I've heard it told, but it turned out he was a sleeper agent for Abstergo, programmed to infiltrate and destroy the organization.
How did he know you were there? We could be compromised.
They must have caught me snooping inside their network and sent Cross to see what we were after. If they were aware of our current location, we'd know. Though, I will say this. Doesn't bode very well for future expeditions.
I've set up some cameras topside. If anyone shows up, we'll see it.
I'd suggest you go see about finding a socket for that power source. Or we can return to Connor if you prefer. All the artifacts in the world won't mean a thing without the key.
Alright, so let's look at our emails really quick. Let's see. We had already read down to here. So, bunch of binary. It works. I should hardly be surprised. Electrical impulses move from one pathway to another. You call them networks. Our word for them was more akin to road. It is yet difficult to project the thought from one medium to another, yet it works, it works, it works, it works. Hatham's Blades. I've been doing some digging on Hatham's Blades. Still not 100% sure where they came from. My initial instinct was he started out as an assassin. I believe his father was one in fact, but it appears he was a Templar from pretty early on. Maybe he took them from someone. It's happened before. They're quite handy. I'm surprised more Templars hadn't put them to use. Pretty easy to build a pair if you know what you're doing. Another binary one here. I have found a way to better control the impulses, to formulate a thought and transmit it, to add a sense of structure, a sense of order. You fear order, your kind. The gentle hand that tends the flock is a kindness, not a cruelty. I wonder, will you ever understand? Your enemies do in their own way, but they share your base heritage. Their concept is flawed. They are not worthy. You have all proved unworthy of our gifts. So this is from Sean about Juno. Looks like Juno's really taking a shine to you. Suggests you don't engage her. There isn't really time to go down that rabbit hole. I'm sure to prove a Badger's den besides this whole experience, actually. All right, sure to prove a Badger's den. That final door, salvation was it? But for us, who knows? Here we sit, working towards something we know next to nothing about, but it's our only chance, so there's that, I suppose. And then from Binary to Sean, subject leave him alone. You should not meddle in affairs that do not concern you. And Sean replies, LOL, someone doesn't like me. And then, all these Juno's visits and emails, too, apparently, have got me thinking. What happened to Tania and Minerva? They're ones who invited us to this little apocalypse party, and now they're gone and buckered off. A little inconvenient, not to mention rude. I'll try to poke around later, see if there's not some sign about what happened to them. We'll talk here.
I know everyone thinks I'm being silly, but I can't shake the feeling we're being watched.
We are being watched. By Juno. Or some version of her.
Do you think it's a recording? Or is she a ghost? Or something else? Is she talking to us the way Minerva talked to Ezio?
No clue. I mean, who knows what else they were working on down here? There's still so many rooms we don't have access to.
But do you think she's like literally down here, waiting somewhere, still alive?
Still alive? That's mental. That means she'd be at least 75, 80,000 years old? Oh, powerful, yeah, but not that powerful.
They came down here looking for a way to survive. Maybe they found one. Was it weird seeing Cross?
What do you mean?
It's different for you. You don't know about what happened, I guess. For a long time, he was important to us. He was a different person.
Sean said he was a sleeper agent. Like Lucy.
It was different. She made a choice, but Cross, if you read the files, Abstergo just... They did terrible things to him.
Rebecca?
You're lucky. We all are. We have people who care about us, who look out for us. He was all alone, and the people he thought he could trust, they used him.
Did you know him?
No, but I knew Hannah.
Who's that?
She tried to help him. She trusted him. But there was a raid about a year ago. She stayed behind so the others could escape. Tried to reason with him, to see if she could fix things.
Well, what happened?
What do you think happened? He killed her. That's what he does. That's all he knows how to do. Sometimes it seems like that's all any of us know how to do.
Rebecca.
I just want to be alone right now.
She just wants to be alone right now.
I just want to be alone right now.
Alright, so let's go talk to the other two. Sean's always up here.
Ah, Desmond, there you are. Can I ask a favor?
Maybe.
When this is all over, I'd like to try turning the dial back on the Animus. Like, all the way back. To the time of the first civilization.
You think it would work?
There was no real loss of fidelity when you visited Altair. Then again, that was about 1,000 years ago, and I'm looking at going back at least 70,000 more.
Sure, I'd be up for it. It'd be interesting to see what things were like back then.
Excellent. I think it would prove most enlightening. So this is how it started.
What are you up to?
Just brushing up on my American history. Well, I say history. They certainly teach you strange things in the States.
Like what?
Well, for all the talk of this being a revolutionary war, it was a civil one. Well, not that kind of civil. I mean, there was no America versus Britain. It was Brit on Brit action. And you can clearly see how the whole thing got started. One war gave birth to the other.
You mean the 7 Years' War?
Exactly. Seems the Crown overspent in its attempt to keep the French out, wound up with a great deal of debt. Believing that the colonists should help to shoulder the burden, new taxes were created. It was a reasonable request, even if Parliament was rather, well, undiplomatic about it.
Well, it's not really fair to tax people for a war they didn't want any part of.
What? Didn't want any part of? Did you not notice George Washington with Edward Braddock? He was right there in the middle of it. So here you have the Crown spending who knows how much money to secure a place for the colonists to thrive, and then, when they ask for a little bit of help... Right, look, think of it this way. King George and the colonists, they all go out to dinner, right? And when the bill comes, George asks for them to kick in and pay their share. Fair enough. But keep in mind, he's been taking them out to dinner gratis for decades now. But the colonists, oh no, they insist they only had a glass of water and a side salad. Never mind the table's full of half-eaten food and empty bottles of wine. Now, when the king points this out, what do the colonists do? Oh, they flip the table over and they storm out the restaurant. Probably intending to return later and burn it down.
You left out the part where the king pointed a gun at the colonists and asked them to cover dinner for everyone in the restaurant.
Right, yeah, interesting take. If he pulled out a gun, and I'm not sure he did, it would only have been after the 100th failed attempt at getting them to pay their fair share.
But how do you define someone's fair share?
Oh, well, with a war, apparently. I wonder how many other places like this exist.
There are dozens of them, all over the world.
And somehow no one's ever found one before us.
I don't think that's true.
Oh?
When I was at Abstergo, Vidic talked about silencing discoveries made by non-Templars. And I'm sure Abstergo has dug up plenty.
The things they must know.
Regretting throwing in with us?
No. Just looking forward to when we can finally trounce those bastards so I can dive into their archives. Oh, I think I found a lead on another power source. Later, Desmond. I'm in the middle of something very important right now. Just, that's a rule. Just follow that as a rule.
And I saw her dad walking around, pacing. I'd like to try to get his dialogue if I could find him. There he is.
Son, I owe you an apology. I shouldn't have lashed out like that. You have to understand, I've never been very good at this. Never mind that we live rather extraordinary lives.
Yeah, I kinda liked my ordinary one.
You can't escape who you are, Desmond.
So I've noticed.
Look, it's silly for us to go back and forth like this. I admit, I did a shitty job raising you. I apologize, I'm sorry. But it's important you understand it didn't come from a bad place. You're my son. I love you. I guess I was so busy trying to make sure nothing bad happened, I didn't consider the consequences. Truce.
I can't believe it's taken me so long to ask, but... how's Mom? She's not...
No. Your mother is fine. We decided it was safer if we split up for this job.
Always assuming the worst.
For good reason.
Can I at least say hi to her?
I'm sorry, it's too risky. Maybe when we're done.
Right. When we're done.
Is that it? We're still walking with him.
Have we ever tried to make peace with the Templars?
Throughout our history, there have been moments. Several, in fact. But it's impossible. There are existential differences, insurmountable. If there were to be unity, it wouldn't be a truce so much as a submission.
But knowing what's about to happen, wouldn't it make sense to try and talk to Vidic? Come to an arrangement, even if it's only temporary?
We'd all be so busy watching our backs, nothing would get accomplished. Imagine that. We're more productive at war.
Well, have we ever tried sending in someone? Doing to them what they did to us with Lucy? Or Cross?
We have, and it's never worked. We've sent people who were either too weak and found themselves turned, or too strong and were unable to carry out the charade.
I just feel like we all want the same thing.
We use the same words, but that's all they are, words. In the end, it all comes down to freedom. We seek it, they detest it. And so there's never an end to the fight. Not until one side is completely gone.
Is that even possible?
Probably not. Our two groups have existed in one form or another since, well, since forever. But things can be better than they are. And that's something.
Did you look for me, Dad? When I was gone?
Every day.
Come on.
I mean it. Every night I'd look, searching for your name or variations of it, hoping you'd slip up. Abstergo only found you first because they had better access. A few more days and it would have been me.
Well, I'm here now.
And I'm glad.
I'm gonna try to patch things up.
Do you think Lucy regretted what she was doing?
Man, there's a lot of dialogue between these two.
I used to think I knew her well, but clearly that wasn't the case. So I really can't give you an honest answer.
She seemed so sincere, though. Like she really wanted to make a difference.
Yes, well, when I first met him, I thought the same thing about Cross.
It just keeps happening over and over again.
What does?
Everything.
Don't get weird on me, Desmond.
No, it's fine. I'm fine. Don't worry.
All right, then. You should think about getting back in the Animus. We've got to find that key.
Yeah, that's probably the end.
We should probably get back to Connor.
All right, so this is where we're going to end our episode for today. So I really do hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.